What restriction did Jehovah place upon Adam, and why was this command not difficult to obey? Why then do humans die? To find the answer, we must consider what happened when there was only one man and one woman on earth. The Bible explains, Jehovah God made to grow out of the ground every tree that was pleasing to look at and good for food. Genesis 2:9. However, there was one restriction. Jehovah told Adam, "From every tree of the garden you may eat to satisfaction, but as for the tree of the knowledge of good and bad, you must not eat from it, for in the day you eat from it, you will certainly die." Genesis 2:16 and 17. This command was not difficult to obey. There were many other trees from which Adam and Eve could eat. But they now received a special opportunity to show their gratitude to the one who had given them everything, including perfect life. Their obedience would also show that they respected the authority of their Heavenly Father and that they wanted His loving direction. Sadly, the first human couple chose to disobey Jehovah. Speaking through a serpent, Satan asked Eve, "Did God really say that you must not eat from every tree of the garden?" Eve replied, "We may eat of the fruit of the trees of the garden, but God has said about the fruit of the tree that is in the middle of the garden, you must not eat from it. No, you must not touch it. Otherwise you will die." Genesis 3:1-3. "You certainly will not die," said Satan. "God knows that in the very day you eat from it, your eyes will be opened, and you will be like God, knowing good and bad." Genesis 3:4-5. Satan wanted Eve to believe that she would benefit by eating the forbidden fruit. According to him, she could decide for herself what was right and what was wrong. She could do what she wanted. Satan also charged that Jehovah had lied about the consequences of eating the fruit. Eve believed Satan. So she picked some of the fruit and ate it. She then gave some to her husband, and he too ate some of it. They did not act in ignorance. They knew that they were doing exactly what God had told them not to do. By eating the fruit, they deliberately disobeyed a simple and reasonable command. They showed contempt for their Heavenly Father and His authority. Such disrespect for their loving Creator was inexcusable. Jehovah had no reason to sustain disobedient Adam and Eve forever. They died just as He had said they would. Adam and Eve ceased to exist. They did not pass on to the spirit realm. We know this because of what Jehovah said to Adam after confronting him with his disobedience. God said, "You will return to the ground, for out of it you were taken. For dust you are, and to dust you will return." Genesis 3:19. God had made Adam from the dust of the ground. Before that, Adam did not exist. Therefore, when Jehovah said that Adam would return to the dust, He meant that Adam would return to a state of non-existence. Adam would be as lifeless as the dust from which he was made. What may help us to understand how Jehovah felt when Adam and Eve took a course of opposition to Him? To illustrate, how would you feel if you raised and cared for a son or a daughter who then disobeyed you in a way that showed that he or she had no respect or love for you? That would cause you much heartache. Imagine then how hurt Jehovah must have felt when both Adam and Eve took a course of opposition to Him. Why do we die? Adam and Eve could have been alive today, but they died because they chose to disobey God and thus sinned. The reason we die is that Adam's sinful condition, as well as death, was passed on to all of his descendants. Romans 5:12 reads, "That is why, just as through one man sin entered into the world, and death through sin, and so death spread to all men, because they had all sinned." That sin is like a terrible inherited disease from which no one can escape. Its consequence, death, is a curse. Death is an enemy, not a friend. How grateful we can be that Jehovah provided the ransom to rescue us from this dreadful enemy.